the transmission
Right.
and the overdrive altogether. But I was able to manipulate the whole thing by myself. So got to be very patient doing it though.
Yep. Boy, you did that. You did the transmission by yourself in and out of the car?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
those are on the call. If anyone needs help with getting their transmissions out of their big Healey, Richard would be happy to help you.
But what he said, guys, is that if anybody needs any transmission work, he's got all the parts for the BJ8 Healeys. He's got all the stuff to rebuild the whole unit. And the problem here is he's got open transmissions from all kinds of other British cars and foreign cars he can't get parts for. They're all delayed overseas.
Right.
He can't get anything made. He can't get anything, it's all backed up and he can't do anything. He's like dead in the water. So what he's doing transmissions where he has the parts for. It's all he can do right now. So I was lucky. He happened to have the BJ8 parts, and I'm sure he's still got more if anybody needs anything.
Right.
So, but you have to have the transmission out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Bring your car
For those who
over
are just joining the call, Richard's sharing with us. Remember, he had discussions with us on the call a month ago, but he had a problem shifting with his BJ8 transmission, and he pulled it out himself and took it down to Joe Esposito down at Quantum Motors and rebuilt the transmission for him and got it back in 2 weeks and put it back in the car. And he went for a drive today with his car. So in a span of less than a month, you got things all sorted out, Richard, right?
Yes, I do.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
No, it's nice to hear success stories like that. It's great. So thanks for sharing that. So just curious, Ken Beck and Bob Abbott, are you having a hard time sourcing and finding parts for cars right now? Is it a problem universally on these British cars?
Well, I won't say I've had problems yet, but a few things are slow in coming, taking longer. Customs is very, very slow now, so parts coming from England might be held up for 3 or 4 days while they inspect them and then finally ship them along. So yeah, I haven't had anything, but it looks like it probably is going to get worse. Yep.
Right. I'm sorry, Ken, are you experiencing the same thing?
Yeah, that's about the same thing. Deliveries are a little slower than normal, but they had been slowing down gradually anyway.
Right.
But, we've been able to get by.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. So so I see Ted Cryer's on the call. So why don't we get started? So Ted has and let me see if I can share that, Ted. Unless
or I could probably hold it up here, but it probably look better if you have it on the screen.
Okay, so Ted, why don't you give us a little bit of an update while I'm searching for that? And,
okay. If you tech calls ago, there was some discussion on pros and cons of having Petronics or any electronic ignitions versus the old-fashioned points and condenser. And some people are nervous if the electronic unit fails, you're stuck on the road. So you would carry an extra base plate with the points and condensers all set, or just stick with the points and condensers because we know how to deal with them, I guess. So something that I had in my toolbox from many, many years ago when I worked in an auto parts store in the 70s was something that made it a lot easier to set your points, and you don't have to bump the engine at all. This is made in England, and it's a little round cylinder that goes over the rotor, and it's very well polished. It's very precision to a certain thickness. And then you got 2 sets of feeler gauges, and I don't know if you can read them, but one is for setting points to 10 to 12 thousandths or 14 to 16 thousandths. So you put this little round thing over the distributor cam, and then you don't have to bump the distributor. There you go. There's a good shot of it. So that's all you have to do, and just set your points, and then lock it down, and you're done. So I just thought if anybody wants to use points, and you happen to come across one of these in a yard sale or something, or there is a set on eBay right now in England that you might have, you might be interested in buying one, and you know what it is. So Moss doesn't sell anything like it. I even looked at Spares, but it's been a nice time saver and a good thing to carry in the toolkit when you're on the road somewhere, and if something goes happen, even to help someone else on the tour with you. So I
what's
just
it
thought it was a
called,
nice
Ted?
thing to share. Pardon?
What is it called? What's the part called?
It's actually called, I'll read this. It's made by a company called Remax.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's an ignition contact gauge.
Okay.
And I was actually going to take a picture of it and send it to Spares, to the director who I've gotten to know through the sponsorship work for the Enclave,
Yeah.
and make a recommendation they might consider reproducing these and something for them to sell to people. So
Great. Has anyone ever seen one of these before and have any experience with these?
No,
No.
it's so slick. I'm surprised somebody hasn't done it before. There is one on eBay right now. It's in the UK for sale. They're asking $25 US, and then it's about $20 shipping. So that might be a little pricey, but it's a pretty cool little tool, and I've enjoyed using it now when I have to. So anyway.
Okay.
so this prevents you from.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So what happens? It goes over the top of the lobes, so it makes you don't have any more high spot. The high spot can be anywhere on that circle.
Right, you don't have to bump the engine
rock
over, turn the engine over.
You don't have to rock the engine.
Right, you just set the points and away you go.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
So pretty slick. So anyway.
So Ted, do you happen to have the link on that eBay site in the UK?
Yeah, I can get that, and I don't have it at the moment, but I could certainly send it to the team here on the chat session of the.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that people may be interested in that. That'd be great.
Sure.
Be careful when you Google Remax. I want to sell your house.
I have another question on that.
Go ahead, Richard.
When you run that, when you put that circle over the top of the lobes,
Yeah.
that makes that thicker. So is that going to change the?
No, because these little gauges are therefore precision made to make up for that.
Okay.
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 So if you needed to do 15,000s like most Lucas distributors are, at least for MGs and Healey's, you put these two together and you're going to have 15,000s.
Okay.
Has anybody ever heard of a dwell meter? Dwell makes it real easy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the way to set points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
just a
Chrysler
little-
products used to have a little window on the side of the distributor cap, and you could put a little wrench in there, and
Right.
you could turn it with that, and while you're doing the dwelling, you're done like that. Yeah.
So that's what you do, Mike. You just use a dwell meter for setting your points.
Yeah, if you always do it with a dwell meter, you don't have to check your timing, theoretically, and I found that to be true.
Didn't the MG distributor have a little screw on the side that you could turn and
No.
it would? No.
General Motors.
Just a note, if anybody does have Petronics, Petronics does supply a repair kit for the specific unit that you're using. And it's like half price or whatever, but it's a nice little thing to have just in case your Petronics does die. You don't have to replace the whole unit.
Wow.
It's available.
Yeah, I used to
I've never
carry
heard
my
of
spare
anybody
Petronics
having
in my
electronic
trunk.
ignition fail.
No, either have I, but we all talk about it.
I mean, all the new cars we drive today have electronic everything, so.
Yeah, we've had several Petronics fail over the years.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Total failure. Yeah.
So Ken, do you normally run with standard points instead of Petronics for your customers' cars?
No, this has been an in and out story for a number of years. When we started having Petronics failures a number of years ago, I felt more confident with the point systems.
Yeah.
Then we started having a lot of condenser failures. The condenser is made in Mexico. Then it became more reliable to run Petronics. Then we
Yeah.
solved the condenser failure problem with Moss a number of years ago. And a couple of years ago, it came back again. So it's a crapshoot. But
Yeah.
typically the Petronics have been pretty reliable, but they do go down.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray Donovan lost his condenser, pooped out on him on the rally last week at Summit, or 2 weeks ago at Summit in Newport. But it took a while for him to figure out what happened with that. But it turned out to be the condenser was the problem.
Yeah, we've been using standard brand or some from Napa.
Have you?
And more reliable, more
Okay.
confident in those.
Does,
Okay, that's
does
good to
the,
know.
does the Petronics repair kit come with negative or positive ground?
I don't know for sure.
Okay,
But Richard, you're right. You have to make sure you have it, a negative or positive ground. The Petronics are different,
yes.
whether it's positive or negative ground.
Right.
I'm currently working at a auto parts store, and I can tell you, all standard items are not made on Long Island anymore. They're made in, guess where? China. You're right.
Yep.
Hey,
Okay,
Peter, this might be a good time to put a plug in for Rob Medinsky. Anybody having trouble with their condensers, he claims he has a condenser that's absolutely bulletproof.
Well, Rob just rebuilt the distributor in my BJ8. It's running great after Bob Abbott rebuilt the motor. And Rob
What
rebuilt
was that name?
It's Rob Medinsky is the gentleman that owns the company, and it's Peter, what is
British
it?
vacuum unit.
Yeah, did you hear that? British vacuum unit, Ken? They're in Canterbury, is it right, Bob? Canterbury, New
Yeah,
Hampshire?
Canterbury, New Hampshire.
And
British
Ken,
vacuum?
we have the details in the members only section on the website
Okay.
with all the suppliers.
He makes condensers, he makes vacuum advances, and he has rotors produced to his specs. And we've never had any trouble with any of them.
That's great.
And he rebuilds distributors.
And he
Right.
rebuilds distributors. Yes, he does.
I just sent the link on eBay if anybody wants to get one of those neat
Great.
little contact sets.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate that. Great. So, as things are starting to get a little cooler, maybe some people are even thinking about getting their cars away, albeit it's going to be 75 degrees this week. So remember, Cindy and I are going out for a run on Wednesday. So Rick had a question as it relates to what have people's experiences been with trying to minimize mice and problems when you store your cars over the winter.
Put the
Get a
cheese in the
cat.
corner.
Get a cat?
Yeah, I got a cat.
Dog hair has worked very well for me over the years.
Dog
We
hair.
have 2 dogs, and I used it to get rid of woodchucks under my father-in-law's porch. And I've been using it in the cars ever since. And it works really well. And if you got the dogs, it's pretty cheap.
So what do
I
you do?
put it
Shave
around
the
the engine
dogs and,
compartment inside the car, under the car, and they don't come near it. So,
Well, I use mint oil.
okay.
What kind of oil is
Are you
that?
familiar with mint oil?
Mint oil.
From
Okay.
mint, yeah.
Yeah.
Mint oil, mouse traps, mothballs, and a shotgun. That's about it.
Shotgun's the best choice there, Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
One thing
I went to Home Depot and got one of those devices that you plug in. And it seemed made a difference last year. I'm not sure if it really did. I do have mouse traps out there as well, and I only caught one mouse all last winter with running one of those electronic devices. It seemed to make a difference.
So did the others get away?
Did what get away, Bill?
Did the other mice get away?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question, but they're not in my garage. That's all I care about. And they're not eating my wires. Now, I do have a problem in my shed with my tractor. They like to get in there after I bring the tractor in from cutting the grass and build nests in there around the
No.
the exhaust there. But so I have more of a problem with my tractor than I do with my cars.
Well, one thing that I have found that mice do not like is light. And I store my cars in a cow barn, and I had problems up until a couple of years ago. I make sure the interior is tight, but the engine, or, you know, the bonnet is up and the trunk lid is up. And I do not put a car cover on anymore. And they don't like light, and I haven't had a problem.
Okay. Scares them away, huh?
Well, they want darkness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Any other suggestions for keeping mice out of our cars during Healy storage?
Park it in the kitchen.
There you go. So Ken Gibson, who we just heard from, he's got a BN2, and he was looking for, is anyone aware of anyone that's selling a set of BN2 side curtains? Now, I know Bob Abbott gave him a lead on that, but I just wanted to open this up to this group to see if anyone else is aware of anyone having any side curtains for BN2 that may be interested in selling to Ken.
And I do have BN1 side curtains that I'd be willing to do partial trade or whatever.
So what's the difference between the BN1 and BN2? I know some of them you can lift the bottom up to get your hand in, and others you can't.
Well, the BN1 was one-piece plexiglass.
Okay.
Is that true through the whole series, Ken, or is that just some of the
That's
early?
only the very early BN1s.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah, mine's a 54, and I've got the folding flap with mine.
Yeah, mine's
Well,
a
the ones
54.
that- I'm sorry, the ones that came with my car are very odd in the fact that they are plexiglass, but they slide like a BN4. And
Now,
they
are
fit.
they bowed, Ken? Do they have a bow in them?
Slight, very slight bow.
Okay.
I have a set.
Bob-
I have a. Go ahead.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I have a set of those, the aluminum frame ones with the sliding glass, and they don't fit very well. Actually, I was fighting with them this afternoon. So.
So you don't want another set, huh?
No, to me they're a joke, but anyway. So.
Yeah.
But Ted, yours is are you a 55?
I have a 54.
54 as well. Okay.
And I do have an original set that came with it, which I've restored, so to speak, in pretty nice shape. And but because I prefer the sliding plexiglass, if I can make them work. But so I do have a set of original ones, but they don't have the flap on the bottom. So.
Gotcha. So do they slide on both sides like a 6-cylinder roadster, or they just slide on one side?
They just slide on the backside, the plexiglass.
The backside. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Because of the bow, once they get in the pocket, they have to pretty much stay there.
Got it. Okay. So Ken, you're looking for the kinds with the flaps and not the
Yes.
ones with the plexiglass bows?
That is correct.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And Bob has a complete set of frame with the trim. And if I could get a picture from somebody, as to what the leather / vinyl and clear windows are supposed to be, I can get them made.
Oh, I can do that, Ken, for you. I'll take pictures of mine and give you all the measurements.
That'd be super. And if anybody needs an upholsterer, I got a 51 Mercury that I had dropped off all of my seats, door panels, kick panels, package tray at LeBaron and Bonnie the Wednesday before they closed. I went out of business over in Amesbury. So Monday, I spent the whole day talking with lawyers to get it back. Tuesday, I get a call from the shop manager, Angel Eaton, and she's just over the border into New Hampshire. And she told me she took her seats home with her, and she would do them along with her boyfriend who did the work on the side. And if anybody wants their name and phone number, they did a phenomenal job. Absolutely gorgeous upholstery work.
Yeah, so Ken, can you send me her details and I'll add that to our, to the website?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'll make sure to add that.
Yeah. Great gal. Impeccable work. She's not cheap, but if you're like me, I don't mind spending the money if I get what I pay for.
Okay, that's good. You don't like cheap women, huh?
Do you hear that, honey?
Yeah, Nancy's on the phone. She's gonna enjoy that.
Yeah, I guess you do know Nancy, don't you?
But yeah, so Ken, I will send, I'll take pictures of my side curtains, and give you, and send you all the dimensions. Mine have all been recently, where they were restored 10 years ago.
Okay. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Okay.
Speaking of things that are out of business, or at least temporarily, Nissinger apparently got hit hard in the same hurricane that took out the dinner theater. And their workshop was under 6 feet of water. And they are not taking any new orders for repairs in for the time being. And they haven't, if you look on the website, they haven't given an indication of when they're going to be reopening. They're still open to sell gauges. I know they still sell some new gauges, but repairs are out the door for now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, you had a gauge place out in like New Mexico or something you were using? Is that right?
There's a gauge company in Phoenix called MoMA. And then there's another one up in Reseda, California called West Valley Automotive Instruments.
Okay.
And the lady that was running MoMA passed away, but her shop guy has taken over that business. And the guy out in California at West Valley is pretty old, but he's still taking care of business.
How do you spell that first one?
The name of the first one?
Yes, sir.
MoMA, M-O-M-A. And they're in Phoenix, Arizona. I think Pete has it on the.
Yeah, I'll check, Bob.
Okay.
Get that on the website. Ken, do you have any other sources for rebuilding gauges?
We've been dealing with MoMA for years.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah, that's our primary source.
Okay. Okay, we get 2
Am I
recommendations
right
there.
there, Ken? Didn't she pass away?
That's true. A couple of years ago,
Okay.
actually. Yep.
But
Okay.
actually, she and Morris from West Valley used to be married.
Oh, really?
They didn't get along. So yeah, that's where MoMA came from, Margaret and Morris. And so he left and opened up his own business, or another business out in California, and she kept MoMA going.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Is Dave Walsh on the call by any chance? I see there's phone numbers on here, a 518 number. Okay. Hi, Alan, how you doing? You've
I'm
got some Sprite
518.
questions, huh? Alan, are you there?
I am. Yep,
So you had questions about removing your rear brake drums?
I do. So I got the car up in the air and I got the tabs off the Sprite. This is a 67 Sprite, and I'm having a hard time getting the drum to come off the hub. So I was looking for recommendations on how to do that.
So have you removed all this? Have you moved the 2 mounting screws that hold that onto the to the plate? So what have you done? So you removed the wheels. You got the hubs there.
Yep. this car's got wire wheels, so you know, you
Okay.
unscrew that, and it's got the spindles, and then it's got four studs coming out of the hub. I mean, I guess an internal hub, and you have to, those are held on by some sort of flanged washers.
The
Right,
locking
'cause-
tabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
locking, yeah, exactly. So I took those off, and I took off the screws, I mean the nuts. And then you know, I was tapping around the edge to try to just loosen up the drum, you know, to come off.
Will the drum spin, Alan? Are they frozen onto the brake shoes?
I wouldn't think they'd spin if they're frozen onto the
I
brake
wouldn't think they would
shoes.
either. That's what I'm asking.
No.
Will they spin?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can spin it and watch the cars in neutral, and you can watch the drive
no.
shaft turn.
But so lightly prying that brake drum against the backing plate, that won't loosen it up?
It doesn't seem like it is. No. And I've got on the internet, and then you got guys talking about the big F.
Well, this is better than the internet. You're talking to live people.
I know. I'm with you.
So anyone have any thoughts or recommendations for Alan with removing brake drums on a Sprite?
Peter, I have a thought on this. You touched on it earlier about the two Phillips head screws, the flathead Phillips head screws that go from the outside through the drum into the axle. And you do need to remove those two Phillips head screws. I'm not sure whether you see those or whether they're even there.
So this one's got one. It's got one, and the other one is like, it looks like there's no head at all, or it looks and I've been I started doing that, like trying to back it off, right? And I actually see the drum coming out, but just on one side, but it doesn't come all the way through. It's not like coming through the hole.
Have you loosened off the brake adjuster?
Yeah, you mean the emergency brake?
No, there's an adjuster for the rear brakes,
On the back side of the
which you
backing
slack
plate,
off
Alan.
completely before you start removing the drum.
I have not.
That's
I have
your
not.
problem.
Okay.
That's it. You have to slack the brake adjuster right off before you start taking the drum off,
Okay.
Is it clockwise or counterclockwise?
counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
Right, the other thing I picked up on is you said you tried to remove one of the screws that you can barely see, and the brake drum seems to tip a little bit.
Right.
Well, one of those screws is holding the axle in, and you can only see the very top of the head through the little hole. That's not the screw you want to take off. You want to take off the other screw, which holds the brake drum on, and then that second screw that you were trying to undo that seems to tip the brake drum, that will be available to you if you want to take the axle out of the rear end. That screw is holding the axle in. There's one holding the axle in, there's another holding the brake drum on. But it sounds to me like Michael's right on. If you have to turn your brake adjuster all the way in, or in this
Slacking
case,
it off.
back it off completely so that you can pull the brake drum off.
Okay.
The brake
All right.
drum gets a little lip in it from the wear from the shoe. And if the shoe's tight against the drum, or even though you can spin the drum, if it's fairly close, there's no clearance to pull the drum off.
Okay.
There's a little lip that's been worn in there. So back the adjuster. It's on the opposite side of the brake shoes from where the hydraulic cylinder is. And back it off completely.
Okay. Yeah. So what I've done is so far I actually drained all the fluid out of the car. And if we get somebody else that told me, maybe that might help you compress it, but I will definitely do. I didn't know about the adjuster, so I'll have to hunt that around. I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, it sticks out. It's on the back of the backing plate.
Yeah.
It should be a square head. Isn't that right, Michael? A square head?
Yes, it's a square head, and I think it's on a Sprite. It's on the front of the back plate, towards the front of the car. I can't remember exactly if it's at the front or the bottom. Does anyone remember?
No, and he's got a 67, so it's probably gonna be different too. Alan, do you have a workshop manual?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I do. Actually, yeah, I didn't. So people were talking about to get to the adjuster, you have to go through the drum. Like there's a hole in the drum that
Yeah.
had
No,
a rubber
it's on the
grommet.
back side of the backing plate, Alan.
Okay, okay.
That's
Yeah,
front.
I think Rick's probably right. You're gonna have to read your manual because the adjuster is probably accessible through a hole in the front on the later Sprites. I
Yeah,
know
I
the
think,
midgets are like that.
yeah, and so I can see. So the adjuster is going to be the opposite side of the hydraulic.
Correct.
What I don't even know what the
It's
name of
on
it
the
is.
opposite side of the
Yeah,
slave
down.
section.
And so it looks like there's a square hole. Like from when I, looking through that, I got a flashlight. I'm looking through the little hole, the access hole, and it looks like it's a square socket or something. Is that the adjuster you're talking about?
Again,
Is
are
that
you
what it would
looking
look
on the
like?
front, through the front side or the back side, Alan?
Front, because the
No, you
back.
gotta look through the back side,
Okay.
the
Okay.
back of the backing plate.
I understand what you're saying to me. You don't. I'm good. I get it. I'll look there.
I've just looked on the Moss website. I'm pretty sure it's on the bottom of the back plate.
Okay.
And you unscrew it. You turn it anti-clockwise until it won't turn any further. And then you should be able to pull the drum off.
That'd be a beautiful thing. That'd be a beautiful thing. Okay. All right. And the second question I had is, so I'm changing it all the disc brakes, swapping out the front disc brakes for new ones, and also putting disc brakes in the back of the car. So I cleared out I drained the fluid, and I don't know what kind of fluid it was in it, but I'm going to try to go to move to silicon or .5, right, type fluid. And so in doing that, I was thinking, is now a good time to sort of change the brake lines? I have to kind of rebuild.
Just a second here. First off, what sort of rear discs are you going to put on?
You guys aren't going to like this story. You're not going to like, well, maybe you will. So there's two options. You can go out and buy a $2,000 disc brake kit, right? And there are a lot of guys who will sell you that. Or there's these clever little guys on the internet called Creative Spriggets, and they will sell you the back plate. And you can use disc brakes from a 1994 to 98 Toyota Sentra. And that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So
now
we're going to get
next
the full
question
experience.
is, why are you changing to disc brake here?
Well, it seemed like the right thing to do. Good. I don't know. Sorry, two things, two reasons. I'm also changing to a dual zone master cylinder, right? So, and I don't, so that was the thinking. It's just that while I'm in there taking the whole thing apart, I put these disc brakes in, put an adjuster in there so you can balance it, and hope that it runs better. It's a little squishy when I was driving it around. The brakes weren't. They didn't feel like they're that good. I don't think they're that old, but they didn't feel like you were getting great braking. So I was just trying to.
But that's probably not because of the rear shoes. The rear I mean, unless you're going to be autocrossing this car, Alan, I mean, obviously you're welcome to do whatever you want. A lot of people like to re-engineer their cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, for just driving around town or taking it out on the highway, you're going to spend a fair bit of money, and you're probably not going to improve your braking any.
And please hang on to the old parts so that the next guy that buys the car can put them back on.
Yeah, I'm curious about your changing to synthetic or silicon fluid. And I'm sure Bob has some feelings on that. We've had nothing but trouble. I say it's about a 50-50 chance of having silicon brake fluid work properly in the car. And silicon brake fluid is a little bit compressible, so you don't get the hard pedal that you would get with .4. But we've had several cars where the rubber swelled up in the master cylinder, brakes went on during a ride. We had to disconnect or open a bleeder so the person could drive the car home on a parking brake. It's been nothing but trouble. I have silicon in a couple of my own cars, and I've been fortunate, been that way for years, but we've had a lot of problems. So I tell people, if they want to switch to silicon brake fluid, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be successful. The only good thing about it is if you spill it on the paint, you don't have to repaint the car.
Right.
Bob,
I get-
what's your opinion? Do you run into that?
Yeah, yes, we have. I don't recommend silicon brake fluid. It is .4 and .3 and .4 brake fluid is hydroscopic, so that means it'll absorb moisture, but silicon brake fluid absorbs air. So you're always getting bubbles in the system that create the soft pedal on it all the time. And you can have problems with I don't know what rubber compounds are affected, but I know that some of the rubber compounds in the master cylinders and even the slave cylinders or wheel cylinders can be affected by silicon. And it just, like you say, it causes it to expand and give you all kinds of problems that way.
So if I stay with .3 or 4, does that mean I'm sort of signing up to change it out every year or two?
No. No, you probably should do it every 5 years, but you certainly don't need to do it every year.
Okay.
And probably most of the cars, probably that are on the call, probably have never changed it. I did change mine on my blue Sprite this year because I had a problem with the pedal, but it'd been 8 years since I touched it.
The other problem with silicone brake fluid is that if you have the switch, the type of brake switch that goes into the master cylinder, it says right on the box from standard, not compatible. I did that on my 1940 Packard, and I have to change that switch every year.
So Alan, the idea of going to a dual master cylinder is a good idea. I mean, that's nice to have that system set up. The idea of disc brakes on your car probably isn't going to be valuable for it, and converting to silicone brake fluid is not recommended.
Okay.
So you could probably save a little money by staying with your standard rear brakes.
That's a done deal. Don't worry about it, guys. Don't. I mean, you hit it on the head. I told you before. I was honest. This is not a Concourse car. This is I bought a Sprite so I could effectively re-engineer it. But just for fun, it's good. I told you, it's going to have Miata seats in it, and it's got LED headlights on it that look like like a Jeep's running up on you. It's got the ring, and I'm just trying to light it up so when we drive it around, people see us, because it's like driving a motorcycle, right? And I just want it to shine like one of those brand new Harleys, So and then my daughter and my wife can drive it and have fun, and I can live with myself, that they can see, other people can see them, because the car's tiny.
Yeah, no,
as you all know, so. I look forward one day to showing it off to you guys, but that may not happen in for another 20 years. So we're getting there.
Well, if it doesn't move, it'll be very safe.
Yeah, but here's the good news. I did figure out, and I called Nicenger, by the way. It was interesting to hear Rick say that, because I got the same story from them, because I had them rebuild the gauges, and they did a great job and all that. But I was having a hard time with the tack. And because it wasn't registering, and I called him to get some help on it, but the net of it was the gauges, the fuel gauge wasn't working, and this is really funky. When the fuel gauge doesn't work in this car, it pegs to full, right? And I finally had to drop the tank and check the sender, and the sender, I guess, was bad, and so now I got a new new senders coming, and it works. I mean, once you get the sender to work, and I went there with an ohm meter, you got to figure out how to, so I'm learning all kinds of stuff. It's
So
great
Alan,
to
when
learn
you
this
put
stuff.
the new sender in, make
Yeah.
sure you have it facing towards the center of the gas tank. Because there's a more on this call that Bruce Ketchen solved for. And I put it in backwards on 2 of my Sprites. And I had it was hitting against the wall of the inside of the tank. So as a moron, put it facing the back of the center of the tank, not towards the front of the tank.
I like to think of that as experience, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I probably would, be on the call in another couple of months asking the same question. So that's
Yeah,
it's
make
good
sure
to
it's
know.
facing towards the back.
It's good to know. Yeah. Well, and so it turns out there are 2 types of senders, right? There's the one that's supposed to match the Smith gauge, which is in the car. And then there's another sender that came with the MG that has a low, empty kind of tank light that will come on, right? So it's got like three. It sends anyway. There's a little light on the dash in this car, which I have no idea what it's for. It's not connected to anything, but that's my thought. I'm getting that sender. I'm going to see if that works. I'm going to wire it up. So
I'm not sure that has anything to do with the gas tank. I've never heard of a Healy having a light of some sort showing when you're low on fuel.
Yeah, I think it's well, when I'm looking for parts, I'm always looking for Sprigget parts, right? Which are either midget or Sprites. And that was one of the senders. If you go to
So
Moss,
anyone on this call ever heard of a light showing low level of fuel in a Healy?
No, Peter, there's a light on this dashboard for the Sprite that's a low oil pressure warning. It's
okay.
Pretty much in the center, I believe, above the 2, the tach and the speedometer.
There is, and there's nothing connected to it. In my car, there's nothing connected to it. So I saw this thing. Okay, because I ran out of fuel. I've run out of fuel because the tank.
That's a different subject.
I know. Well, it is. But
everyone on this call has run out of gas in their Healy. So don't think you're unique with that.
I don't. I mean, does anybody run around with it? I mean, do you drive the cars with a gallon of gas in the car? I mean, like in a.
I thought you were worried about your family. You do not want to drive around in the car with a tank of gas in there. That's a good way to kill the family.
Well, that's true, but I also am trying to avoid getting that phone call saying we ran out of gas, and now I can say at least the light is on. Hey, was the light on?
My Healy has only 2 positions, or empty or full.
There you go.
And then you need to use this part of the finger, and you knock it, and then it moves. From time to time, you just knock it, and then it moves. But if not, it's empty or full. That's it.
So, Alan, you carry a stick.
Stick.
You fill it up and throw the 4 different perforations in terms of quarter, half, 3/4, and full.
Yeah. Okay.
And you put the stick down the tank, and you know how much gas you have.
Okay. That'll be my fallback position.
Don't carry gas in the trunk.
No, I'm not going to carry gas. I was just asking the question because, you want to run out of fuel. I'm trying to fix the problem at the source. And the other thing that people talk about is that they cut a hole in the bottom of the trunk so they can get to the sender, because to fix this problem, you have to drop the tank.
Yes, you do.
Right. And so people just said, hey, we just cut a hole and then.
Well, you could get a big Healy and then you could get it just through the boot. You wouldn't have to worry about dropping the tank.
I'm working on that. I'm working on the big Healy.
Okay.
I'm working on the big Healy. I talked to the guy out in Mark, the Healy Mark, right?
Yes.
That magazine, right? It came out.
Yeah,
some guy had or has a Austin-Healey 3000 out in Arizona. And so I started, I was talking to him, but it's a lot of money.
Well, that's a different subject.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. One of these days, I'm going to graduate up. But anyway, thanks for your help, guys. I appreciate the advice.
Thanks, Alan.
I just got a message sent to me a few minutes ago, a Healy for sale. It says it's an automatic transmission. It's a 66. Is that true?
Not unless someone retrofitted it.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they came with automatic transmissions.
No, they never did. The Healy 4000s, there were 4 of those made, all prototypes. 2 of them had automatic transmissions. They had a Rolls-Royce engine and an automatic transmission. I've driven one of them. Joe
Uh-huh.
Cox's car in the UK. It's now in the Healey Museum. The car is 6 inches wider than a 3000, and that
Yeah.
car has an automatic transmission. Those are the only two that I'm ever aware of that have the automatics.
So somebody must have switched this. Got 85,000 miles on it. It's got an automatic transmission.
So did
There's
you
really
see,
no
are there
automatic.
any pictures with the automatic transmission?
It
We
doesn't
have a
show
club
it.
member who has a prosthetic leg who is looking for an automatic transmission. Now, what people are saying is some people are using MGC running gear, engines and automatic transmissions and retrofitting them into big Heelys.
Yeah. Well, I
Or
have,
could have a Ford V8 or a Chevy V8 with automatic in it.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I'm
But,
looking at it.
Richard, quite often, if you're looking at if it's an online ad, sometimes they just default to automatic transmission.
here, this one is on Facebook.
So it
Right
must
here.
be true.
Can you see that?
Okay, I can see but I can't see the transmission. Can you see the transmission?
No, it doesn't show. It
Okay,
only
well,
shows the outside of the car.
I bet they made a mistake.
They might have. This is put in by a woman.
Be careful.
Yeah.
They call that a honeypot.
Okay, are there any other questions this evening?
I have a question about the beading on the fenders. Has anybody had any experience removing or replacing the beading without moving the fenders out?
Without moving the fenders?
Yeah, sometimes you probably might have to separate the fender a little bit to release it. I'm wondering if anybody has had any experience doing that.
Because you have those tabs that fold underneath, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
You're definitely gonna have to remove the fender if you're gonna want to replace that beading.
You really do. You
You have
can't.
to loosen them anyway.
cannot do
I
those-
guess I'll defer to Bob, Mike, or Ken. I think you definitely have to.
You can't undo those
Yes, I don't,
tabs.
I don't think there's any way you'd be able to get, no way you'd be able to get off without removing the fender because the end of the beading is crimped over. Now,
Right.
although the tabs have got like a little bead on the top of them, which is inside the hollow beading, you'd never be able to pull that through the folded over end of the beading. I just don't think you'd manage.
All right. Thank you.
You might be able to cut them off.
I don't want to take them off.
If you
What
loosen
put 'em
the
on?
fenders,
What I'm basically thinking about is repainting.
Yeah, loosen the fenders and take them out.
Bill, if you loosen the fenders, you should be able to slide that up through.
Uh-huh.
You
'Cause I've
gotta
done-
fold the
I've done-
tabs back over, Richard.
What's that?
You have to fold the tabs back over.
Yeah,
and
you have to
flatten them
straighten the
out.
tab. You have to straighten the tabs out so they'll
Yep.
slide up through the crack.
Right.
But if you loosen the fenders, you should be able to slide them out.
Okay.
Some of those nuts are hard to get at, especially
Yeah,
the
they
ones inside the engine.
Right.
You can't reach them. You probably need a long, extension to get at them. But
You have the car up on jack stands or get all the wheels off, make your access easier.
yep.
It's
I
the
think
one
that-
over the-
On a BJ8, don't they go under the windshield?
Yep.
Oh, Bill's got a BN6.
Yeah, they
No, then he
go,
doesn't have to worry about it.
they go under the post.
The real fun bolt is the one above the rear wheel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
directly above the rear wheel.
So Bill, how bad's the beating you have on there now?
The beading's fine. What I'm considering is repainting the car.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you can just lift them a little bit,
Uh-huh.
you'd be able to tape them off and paint it and then put them back down again without pulling them out.
All right, good. Good point. Thank you.
So Rick, when you had Nick's car repainted, did you remove the fenders or just loosen them up?
We masks them really, really well. We use some thin 1/4-inch Scotch masking tape, the Body Shop masking tape. And we started the masking tape on the side of the beading, used 2 separate pieces, and then folded it over and joined it in the middle at the top of the beading. And if you're going to do it, though, you really need to sand really, really well right up to the beading. Otherwise, that's where they always fail. The people, if they do a quick paint job, they don't sand close enough to the beading, and the paint starts to peel from there.
Right.
So it depends on, I mean, how good a job are you planning on doing? Are you doing a Concord job, or you're doing a making it look better job?
Making it look better job.
I'd try that.
Yeah,
I'd
'cause the paint-
try taping it off. If you go with the same color
Yes,
and the paint is solid underneath, it's worth a
yes.
shot. It's a lot easier than taking the fenders off.
But you removed the beading though, Rick, right?
No, we did not.
Oh, really? Just taped it? Wow.
We
Okay.
taped it, and it came out. You really couldn't tell. I mean, the paint that was underneath it was solid. There was no rust between or catalytic action at all. There was no corrosion coming between the two. And we just sanded really, really carefully right up to the beading.
And did you loosen up the fenders or not? You just taped?
No, just taped.
Okay. Well, okay. Well,
Good advice. Thank you.
And my concern with that is adhesion up to that point. You might save a little bit of time, but with the cost of just the paint materials themselves, if that darn stuff starts to peel around the beading, and you got yourself a problem, and you spent $1,000 in materials. I mean,
It's not. I wouldn't. It's not the best way to do it. Certainly not the. If you want to keep the car and stuff, I'd probably do it that. I'd take the time and take them off. But
well, we usually at least loosen the fenders and push them up a little bit so you can get under pretty well. I mean, an adherence issue once it starts, because you've had wax and other things that got underneath there. Boy, that would scare me. It's just, you might get a couple years out of it, but if the paint starts peeling, you're going to pull out the rest of your hair.
well, the car's been sold, so it's all set.
Okay. Well,
Did somebody buy it from this group?
No.
Did we get a new
Peter?
member out of the deal?
nope.
Okay.
Peter?
Yeah, it was sold on Bring a Trailer.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ken, you had a question? You were raising your hand?
Yes, speaking of that, I am looking for one of the short pieces between the receptor, for the windshield and the racing position in the cowl. The car I bought is missing one of those. And I checked with Moss, and all I can get from them is the great big long one.
Yeah, I was thinking about that after you and I talked about that the other day, and I was going to send you an email, because the fitting where the windshield drops down into, the beading goes under that on both ends, and you can easily cut a long piece of beading short of the fixture, and then cut it again where it comes back out of the fixture. And that fixture will cover both those rough ends, and just use the beading that you have. And if you don't have a piece of beading, I can supply you with enough beading that you could cut it and use what's already there, what you already have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just missing one side. That's it.
The post where the windshield drops down into, when you fold it down, the beading goes under both ends of that. There's a channel there that sits right over the beading, so it doesn't have to be rounded or neat looking or anything else. You just cut your existing beading and slip it in there.
Okay, I'll talk to you on the phone.
All right.
Thank you kindly.
Peter, I have one more question about wire wheels.
Sure.
So I got the wheels off the car. Where do I go to get them balanced?
Hendricks.
Hendricks wire wheels. Or Ken Beck can do that in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
I live in Massachusetts. So do I have to mail it to him? I have to send it to him?
Yes,
how-
that's how you would
That's
do
how we
it.
do it? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Where's Kendrick's?
No, Ken Beck, K&T Vintage Cars.
Oh,
Bethlehem,
sorry.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. So there's no place in Massachusetts? No place in New England? They can do that?
There is a place in Auburn. I don't know if he's still available. It's New England Wire Wheel in Auburn, who I've been to a couple of times, and he's very good, but he's getting up there. So I'm not sure if he's still around.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim, I think you're right. I've never been out there, but I have heard someone in the past year or two utilize his services. He's on our website as well, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's excellent. Very, very good.
I mean,
But I
it's
think
just,
he's doing just now part-time out of his house now, I believe, Jim, is that right?
Oh, really? Yeah, I was there like maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I got my second set of wire wheels, and he was still fine then. But that was, he was up there then.
I understand he's in his 80s.
Yes.
so is it just a part? Is it just that like most of these tire companies don't have the part that a wire wheel can fit on? Like a
It's
standard
cone
wheel
that it needs to
balancer?
fit on properly.
Are you talking about balancing your wheels and tires? Or
Yeah.
are you talking about
Yes.
screwing your wire wheel?
No. Well, I'm hoping it's just a tire balance situation. I don't think it's a truing problem. Oh, I'll be honest with you, I just thought somebody would put it on the machine and tell me what I needed, but you start with balancing the wire and wheels, right? Where you put the weights on it.
The wheel has to be mounted, the wire wheel has to be mounted on the balancer exactly like it's mounted on the car. You can't do it with tapered cones. And that's what most of the tire shops will have.
The spindle part.
Yeah, they won't have that. They just put a tapered cone and try to hold the wheel steady on the balancer with a tapered cone, and that won't work. Because that's that surface of the wire wheel you're talking about has not been machined through. So you have to hold it exactly like, I have a device where the one side of the wheel goes on a spindle, just like you have on your car. The other side is held with a knockoff, just like you put it on and hold it onto your car with. And I can do that on to balance a wheel and tire, but I can't true an out around wire wheel.
Bob, you can't do a Sprite wire wheel, can you?
Yes,
You can?
yes.
Okay.
We have a similar setup. We have a spline piece and a machine backplate that you mount it just like it is on the car. And that's the only way you can true it. If you use two cones, you're on one machine surface and one unmachined surface, because the knockoff really fits on the outside of the hub and not inside like a cone. But if you're going to balance them, we find really truing the tire, shaving the tire, truing the tire is the most important thing, more so than balancing, because you can balance any tire that's out around. But
Yeah,
when you
Ken
put
did
it on
that
the
on my
ground,
BJ8 and made a significant difference in minimizing my Healey scuttle shake.
there's a world of difference, and you're going to find it between, say, 50 and 55 miles an hour. It always shows up at the same place, and it just shakes. Some are worse than others. The
Yep.
wheels, no matter how true the wheel is, it's not going to be perfect. And you end up with this little bit of bouncing, and it just makes a world of difference. It seems crazy to have to shave new tires and decent wheels and stuff, but the car's going to carry on. There's some movement in there. But
I
shaving
don't know
is,
anybody else that has a tire shaver than you, Ken.
Well, Alan Hendricks does too.
Alan
Both Ken
Hendricks
Beck
does,
and Alan
yeah,
Hendricks
but that's even
have
farther away.
shave them.
Yeah.
And again, and so what Ken did when he did mine on a BJ8 is he told me we put the best two wheels on the front, the worst two wheels on the back. and it made a significant difference.
But they were all shaved in addition.
Absolutely. You should, yeah, you shaved and balanced them for me, Ken.
And balanced, yeah.
Yep, it was 6, 7 years ago. It's great.
6 or 7 years, you're running 6 or 7 year old tires?
Yeah, well, I need to
Ken,
replace
get
them this
some new
year.
tires.
I need new wheels and tires this year, Bob. But it got me this far along.
Wheels and tires?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, because Ken already proved that my rear wheels are, he said they were square. Now, he was exaggerating, but so we put the 2 worst wheels on there. I'm going to replace wheels and tires. And I did that with my blue Sprite. I did that with my 100, and it made a big difference on both.
We purchased Dayton wire wheels, and they're supposed to be within 40 thousandths new. And we've had brand new wheels out of the box over 50 thousandths out of round. So I'm a proponent of shaving. I finally did a set on my own Healey, and I couldn't tell that they weren't perfect. If I hit a tar strip, I'd say, was that the tar strip or is the car shaking? I mean, it's just, it makes that much of a difference. We've been driving these cars for 50, 60 years with this characteristic and just putting up with it.
Yep.
I did mine at home with a table saw.
Yeah.
What do you mean by
Worked
shaving?
beautifully.
What do you mean by shaving?
What?
What do you mean? What do you mean by shaving?
With a sawzall? Yeah.
What does shaving mean?
Ken, can you explain how you shave those tires?
If you look at our website, K&T Vintage Sports Cars, there's about a 5-minute video with the demonstration that I usually give at tech presentations.
Yep.
It's a machine that turns the entire assembly, the tire mounted on the wheel, how it's mounted on the car, and it's like a big lathe, and it has a cutting disc as it rotates the tire around. It spins the whole tire, and it shaves all the high spots off the tire. Now, when I say high spot, it's not, the tires aren't necessarily out around, but they're shifted side to side. And so as this thing turns around, it takes the high side and shaves it down concentric to the center of the hub. And if you think about it, you can balance an airplane propeller with one blade. It's like a dodo golf ball or basketball. You know, it can be round, it can be balanced, but when it goes down the road, if the center isn't really in the center, it's going to hop. So take a look at our website, and
and Alden, again, I did my on my BGA. It made a huge difference. And again, they were used tires and they were used wheels. And again, that was 8 years ago. Now I'm in the position where I'm gonna replace them. So, Michael, what did you just post about NetBug? Is that what's that?
Yeah, that's my blog on doing with the table saw. Look like a charm. Don't try it at home.
I'm having a hard time like even visualizing what you're talking about. I'm thinking you cut
Well, go on to K&T.
There's a video on
no.
Go on to their website.
It's what Michael's doing. It's like
there's a
sounds
video
like my kind of guy.
on that. There's a video on that link.
Cool. So let's just walk through the process of troubleshooting this kind of problem. Do you start with getting the tire on the kind of machine like maybe Bob Abbott's got, and just let's see if it balances before you commit to, for me, it'd be like shipping, 400 pounds of wheels and tires to Pennsylvania.
Yep.
That seems like a much bigger deal. I get that the outcome is.
Well, the money you save by not putting the rear disc brakes on, you'll be able to get your tires properly shaped and trued.
Now, I think you're missing the point that balancing is great and it's important, but it's also important to have a tire that runs true to the center of the wheel. More important than balance.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. No, no, absolutely. I mean, the reason why I was asking the question too is obviously if the wheel is out of true,
Right.
then that seems like you want to fix that problem even first before you start spending money on the other stuff, no?
You won't have any money left after you spend all the hours to fix and true. First of all, a lot of the wheels are painted, so the spokes and the nipples are rusted. So if you gotta, you want to get the spokes free, you got to heat them with a torch. If you heat them with a torch, you affect the paint. Now you got to blast and repaint the wheels. I mean, it just snowballs. It turns into a real nightmare. Best thing is buy good new wheels.
Oh, okay.
And we still shave them.
Okay.
And you didn't mention the rear brake drums being balanced sometimes too. I've heard of that.
No, and that's another biggie that we all forget it. We computer balance the rear brake drums. And sometimes if you take, especially on a big Healey, if you look at the back of a rear brake drum, you can see that one side is thicker than the other. And we've already put like 6 ounces of weight on to balance a drum.
Yep.
And that sets up an oscillation through the car that gives you scuttle shake too.
Which is another reason to go to disc brakes. Don't have that problem.
There you go. Solve that problem.
There you go. See, it's going to be, if you guys have got time, want to go look, it's the guys at Creative Sprigates out there in I think it's in Arizona. They got a whole page and blog on how you do this. And it should be
Will they
fun.
come to your house too?
I don't know. Good question. Why? Well, will KNT or Bob Abbott come to my house?
We have tech sessions.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping one of these days. It'd be great.
So I see Mariano, you're on the call. Do you want to give us a quick update as it relates to the Audrain Concord that you were involved with a couple of weeks ago?
Well, more than the concourse, I was working with the Swickfield booth.
That's true.
But,
you are. Sorry.
Yeah, so my 100M was in the warehouse, but I drove it back this last week. So, but the Audrain concourse was really very good. Thomas Gold was there as well. The other, I think, Bradley with the 100M was showing the car.
Yeah, Brad Chase.
Brad Chase. Yeah, we were very lucky also with the weather. So it's a lovely setup because you have like 170 cars there in the breakers. Amazing. Early in the morning, I was there like 6:15, and while the sunrise, you get all the cars coming in. So yeah, it was really fantastic. So really worth it. Sorry that you missed it. You were with that.
Yeah,
cold.
well, and I'm still not 100% yet, but at least I don't have COVID. That's the good news. But I'm still been 2 weeks now fighting this cold. But yeah, that's why unfortunately I missed it. So
I will send you more pictures so you can
okay,
share
please do. Yeah, great. So does anyone else have any other questions this evening?
How is the
Yeah, I do,
Concord?
Peter. It's Nick.
Hi, Nick.
On the BJ8, taking the door panel off, is that pretty standard? Like behind the crank and the door lever, is that just got one of those snap rings in it to pull off?
Nope.
No, there's a pin there that to get that door crank off, right?
Yes.
Okay, like a roll pin or something?
It's a press pin through there, Nick.
On the
Okay.
BJ8, on the window winder, there's a white plastic crown. You can see,
Correct.
sometimes you can see it sticking out. You push the
Yes.
white plastic crown in away from the handle, and you'll see there's a little pin, a little short pin underneath the crown, and you push it sideways and everything will come off. And there's also a spring in behind there. On the door, it's a little bit different. There's a chrome ring, which it's behind the handle. You have to rotate the chrome ring, and it has 2 slots in it. And there's a longer pin under that. And you get it to the right position, you'll find that the chrome ring will compress into the door, and you'll be able to pull the long pin out with a pair of pliers.
Okay. And then I haven't looked at it closely yet. Do you have to remove that pad that goes right along the bottom of the window?
No, you don't have to
Okay.
remove that to take the door panel off.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Michael. Any other questions tonight?
Nope.
Okay, well, thank you guys all for your time. We will meet again the second Tuesday, the second Monday of the month, excuse me. So which will be November 8th. So same time, same bat channel. So hope everyone's doing well. Again, it's gonna be a beautiful week this week. So get out, if you get a chance, get out, enjoy your cars, and have a good rest of your week. Thanks, Michael.
Hi, guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Good night, all.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Good night, all.